and in His written word, it will seem natural that God would write in symbols His divine teachings. That such symbols were set in the sky is in accordance with what is written in Genesis 1, verse 14, quote, "Let them," speaking of the great lights or stars, "be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years." The natural and the spiritual are here announced together. The light which falls on our eyes from these heavenly lights that rule the seasons and the days and the years, we call natural because we are accustomed to them. However, they are no less supernatural than the spiritual truth and light, which they were appointed to convey to us as signs, which for generations had escaped observations. There should be no doubt that the God who can shape history as to make it prefigure future events can also order nature so as to symbolize His truth, as well as to fulfill His will in other ways. We have now come to the seventh major constellation and its associated minor signs, Pisces, the fishes. The figures which represent Pisces consist of two large fishes. One is heading toward the North Polar Star. The other is parallel with the path of the sun. They are some distance apart, but are bound together by a band or ribbon, which is also fastened to the neck of Cetus, the sea monster. The Hebrew name for this sign is Dacum, meaning the fishes. In the Arabic as well as the Greek and Latin names for this sign, we find the meanings are also the fishes. In the fish shooting upward is pictured the heavenly calling of a people for God's kingdom, fulfilling His spiritual requirements, while the other fish keeping on the horizontal answers to the fact that the kingdom is established upon the earth as inheritor not only to the spiritual blessings, but of the material blessings and promises made to Abraham and his seed. Being two in number, the fishes expresses the potential of multitudes, as we find in Genesis 48, verse 16, where Jacob blesses the two sons of Joseph, saying, "Let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth." The marginal note says, "as fishes in the midst of the earth." That was a continuance of God's covenant with Abraham. Reading from Genesis 22, verses 17 and 18. "That in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply their seed as the stars of the heavens, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice." The last seed is, of course, Christ. However, the first seeds, dealing with the stars, sand, and possession of gates, refer to a literal seed or descendants, as described in Psalms 33, verse 12, "the nation whose God is the Lord." Of this same literal seed, Isaiah prophesies, reading from Isaiah 61, verse 9, "Their seed shall be known among the Gentiles," meaning nations, "and their offspring among the people. All that see them shall acknowledge them, that they are the seed which the Lord hath blessed." Ezekiel also wrote concerning this seed, reading from Ezekiel 36, verses 10 and 11, "I will multiply men upon you, all the house of Israel, even all of it, and the cities shall be inhabited, and the wastes shall be builded, and I will multiply upon you man and beast, and they shall increase and bring fruit." Fishes also stand as a symbol of the individual believer in Christ. Jesus called and anointed His first ministers and said, "I will make you fishers of men," Matthew 4:19. In the parable of the dragnet, God's people are again contemplated as fishes. In the Old Testament, fishes also stand for the multitude of people. God told the Israelites, reading from Jeremiah 16, verse 16, "Behold, I will send for many fishers, and they shall fish them." Although the constellation of Pisces shows a band connecting the two fishes, the band has always formed a separate constellation, and the first minor sign of Pisces. As early as the 6th century A.D., the Arabian poet Antara by name mentions it as distinct from the constellation with which it is closely connected. The band gets this name from the meaning of its Arabic name, al-Risha. The Egyptians called this group of stars Uora, which means he cometh. This corresponds to the relationship of the coming one to his redeemed. Reading from Hosea 11, verse 4, I drew them with cords of a man, with bands of love, and I was to them as they that take off the yoke off their jaws. We notice that the bands that bind the fishes are also seen fastened to the neck of Cetus, the sea monster. This shows that God's people are bound and oppressed by the enemies of God, but their deliverance is near. In the star signs, we notice the paw of the ram lying across the double part of the band, as though about to loosen the bands that set the captives free. Although Jesus redeemed Israel and set them free from the penalty of the law, they were still bound politically, economically, and ecclesiastically, as we see in the second minor constellation of Pisces, Andromeda, the chained woman. Here we have a picture of a beautiful woman with chains fastened to her feet and arms in such a manner that she is unable to rise. The stars that form this figure are well suited to the image of a chained woman, for they curve out in a long line like the links of a chain from the Milky Way to the corner of the constellation of Pegasus. In the Egyptian zodiac of Dendera, this woman is named Set, which means set up as a queen. In Hebrew, she is Surah, meaning the chained. The bright star in her head is called in Arabic Al-Fazaz, meaning the broken down. Other stars have names meaning the weak, the struck down, the afflicted. Thus all the stars in this constellation speak to us of God's people Israel, bound and fettered, economically and spiritually, the captive daughter of Zion, waiting for the coming one whose deliverance from her enemies will encompass her from within and without. This picture parallels the scriptural description of Israel. Reading from Isaiah 52, verses 2 and 3. Shake thyself from the dust, arise and sit down, O Jerusalem. Loose thyself from the bands of thy neck, O captive daughter of Zion. For thus saith the Lord, ye have sold yourself for naught, and ye shall be redeemed without money. And reading from Jeremiah 14, verse 17, the virgin daughter of my people is broken with a great breach, with a grievous blow. We should have no great difficulty in recognizing Israel as the Christian nations of the day, and especially America, and symbolized by the beautiful Andromeda. Although redeemed at Calvary, she is surrounded by world powers, jealous of her material wealth and blessings, who hate her and threaten her destruction. The third minor sign of Pisces is Cephas, the crowned king. Here is a representation of a crowned king wearing his royal robe, enthroned in the highest heaven. He bears aloft a scepter, and his foot is over the pole star. His Greek name Cephas is from the Hebrew, and significantly means the branch. His Ethiopian name is Hik, and means a king. The Egyptians called this constellation Pekuhar, which means this one cometh to rule. If there was any doubt as to the meaning of this constellation, it is dispelled by the meanings of the star names that make up this sign. They are coming quickly, the Redeemer, who bruises or breaks. When we consider what the Scriptures tell us of the exaltation and glory of Jesus Christ, it is impossible to mistake the truth which these star names teach. Christ has been invested with all royal rights and dominion. It was predicted of him, reading from Zechariah 6, verses 12 and 13. And speak unto him, saying, Thus speaketh the Lord of hosts, saying, Behold, the man whose name is the branch, and he shall grow up out of his place, and he shall build his temple of the Lord. Even he shall build the temple of the Lord, and he shall bear the glory, and shall sit and rule upon his throne, and the counsel of peace shall be between them both. And Paul adds this, reading from Ephesians 1, verses 20 and 21, which he wrought in Christ when he raised him from the dead, and set him at his own right hand in the heavenly places, far above all principalities, and power, and might, and dominion, and every name that is named, not only in this world, but also in that which is to come. In Cephas we have the glorious King of Israel. It is he who calls Israel his son, even my firstborn. In the 33rd chapter of Jeremiah, after speaking of Israel's restoration, God says, "At the same time, saith the Lord, will I be a God of all the families of Israel, and they shall be my people, for I am a father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn." Here is the foundation of Israel's blessings, not fully made manifest, but as the Lord reigneth, he will in due time make good his word. For reading from Psalms 33, verses 11 and 12, "The counsel of the Lord standeth forever, the thoughts of his heart to all generations. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, and the people he has chosen for his own inheritance." Tape 4 will present the constellations Aries, the ram or lamb, and Taurus the bull with their